Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of Paul's letter to the Colossians, and we're in chapter 4. And we're coming to the end of his letter. Um, he really climaxed his letter in chapter 3 in presenting his theological argument against the false teachers. And then he spent time giving them, as he did the Ephesians, who received a letter at about the same time, a house staff found, house orders, and then he says his goodbyes, and I'm praying for you. I need you to pray for me. Say hi to all these people. These other people greet you, and saying his farewells. For the letters of Paul, this one is long, the farewell section. It's really long. It's not as long as the letter to the Romans. That's the longest. And it mentions the most people. And the interesting thing is that Colossae and Rome are both cities that Paul has not visited when he writes the letter. And so the personal connections take on greater importance because there are people there who do not know Paul personally, only by reputation, but there are people there who are associates of Paul's, friends of Paul's, and so he mentions them by name. And there are also people with Paul in both letters who know the folks there and who want to say hello as well. And so it's just a way of establishing this very tight bond. We want to remember two things as we enter this section, and we'll take 4 or 5 sessions to get through this section because there's so much here. But two things we need to remember. One is that this letter arrived with the letter to Philemon about Onesimus. And so that other issue looms large. And the letter to Philemon is supposed to be read by, to the entire congregation. It's addressed not just to Philemon, but to the whole congregation, and then is targeting Philemon. It's a one-on-one, but it's to be read publicly. And so that whole issue of the slavery of Onesimus is looming large in the background of these verses. The other larger shadow that's looming is Roman persecution, which has already taken place. Paul is in chains. He's in actual jail. He's in the Mamertine prison. He's under house arrest, as he is at the end of the book of Acts. And that means that Roman persecution of Christians as Christians has commenced. And it's going to be especially intense in the province of Asia, where Colossae is. If you don't believe that, read the first 3 chapters of the book of Revelation, or read any Roman history. I mean, it's going to be intense there. And Paul's already experiencing it. You know, the fire has been lit in Rome. It hasn't spread yet to the provinces, but it's about to. And it's about to get really hot, literally, because many of them will be burned alive. And so Paul is talking about himself in this situation and preparing them for the same in these verses. Okay. So all we're going to try to cover today is chapter 4, verses 2 through 4. Devote yourselves to prayer, keeping alert in it with thanksgiving, praying at the same time for us as well, that God may open up to us a door for the word, so that we may speak forth the mystery of Christ, for which I have also been imprisoned, in order that I may make it clear in the way I ought to speak. Okay, so a lot here. The big thing is this: Paul's in jail, and he says, "I'm praying for you, and I need you to pray. I need you to pray for me, and pray for what? Pray that I get released. Pray that I avoid execution. Pray that my jailers are kind to me. Pray that I avoid torture." No, he doesn't ask for any of these things. He says, "I'm in jail. I need you to pray for me. I need you to pray for me so that I will know how to communicate the mystery of Jesus best, so that it can be effective when I deliver it to the people around me, the people in jail and his captors. That in itself is absolutely amazing and an enormous lesson for us. He never prays to avoid the consequences of being a Christian. In a time of persecution, he never prays for his own safety. He never prays for any of that. He prays that the gospel will go forth brightly and clearly. Let's notice that he doesn't say, pray for me. I've been quoting him saying, pray for me, but he says, pray for us. And we're going to see that there are people there with him. And some of those people are in jail with him. And so there isn't us he's representing, and he's talking about all of them. But the us is also Christians who are in the city of Rome, and there are many Christians in the city of Rome. Just read Romans 16, and you'll see that there's a large number of Christians in Rome, all of whom are being hunted down, persecuted at this time. I also want to mention just briefly, he talks about making clear the mystery of Christ. If we want to know what that mystery, what he means by the word mystery, read the first chapter of the letter of the Ephesian letter, because the Ephesian letter, which was written at the same time as the Colossian letter, which overlaps it in many ways. I've talked about this before when we introduced, Colossians as a prison epistle. Um, he goes to great length to talk about the mystery of Jesus. And the mystery of Jesus, and he's also talked about the mystery here. In fact, he says all mysteries are contained in Jesus Christ. Back in chapter 2, there's nothing that we wonder about that we cannot learn about through Jesus. The mystery isn't a mystery any longer, because it's just the truth about Jesus, his death, his burial, his resurrection, his ascension, the way God is going to save us through sacrificing his only begotten Son for our salvation. This is something Peter would say angels long to look into. Peter, writing First Peter at almost the same time Paul is writing Colossians, says angels always wanted to know. The prophets wanted to know how it was all going to work out, and they didn't know. But we know because we're living in it. We're living it right now in this moment. And so, we're a part of something much bigger, God's eternal plan. And people in the past knew it about us, and we need to know it about ourselves in this moment. Okay. Devote yourselves to prayer. One more thing, and I know I've taken more of your time than I said I would. Devote yourselves to prayer. Prayer is that's the thing to do. That's your activity, is to be praying. Praying is not an escape, and it's not a cocooning. Prayer is a way of keeping alert, and it's a way of maintaining our spirit of thanksgiving before God. Devote yourselves to prayer, keeping alert in it with thanksgiving. He's writing this in the middle of terrible persecution to people who are about to be persecuted, and he's writing it to us too. So let's not forget that. Okay, we'll look at verse 5 next time, and thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.